The internet is a pretty magical place. You can watch movies on Netflix, chat with friends on Facebook, and even start your own website. But the internet is still fairly new, and it's unclear what kind of regulations and laws are needed for protection. And considering the fact that I use the internet every day, as I'm sure most people do, it got me wondering a lot about it. I mean, the internet has almost been something we take for granted. It's just this magical thing that happens to be there for our amusement. But just last year, almost out of the blue, I kept hearing this concept of net neutrality. Videos on YouTube were talking about it, the news was covering it, and even the president took a stand on the concept.
This set of principles, the idea of net neutrality, has unleashed the power of the internet and given innovators the chance to thrive. Abandoning these principles would threaten to end the internet as we know it. That's why I'm laying out a plan to keep the internet free and open. And that's why I'm urging the Federal Communications Commission to do everything they can to protect net neutrality for everyone.
With all this talk, I really want to get some answers, so 3 questions came to mind. What is net neutrality? What power does the government have over the internet? And how does this impact not just me, but my community as a whole? Net neutrality is the principle that internet service providers should enable access to all content and applications, regardless of the source. So essentially, your internet provider doesn't care what you use your internet for. So on the surface, that seems pretty nice. So why is there such a big commotion about net neutrality? Well, cable companies are arguing that the Federal Communications Commission is exceeding their power when they issued the Open Internet Order in December 2010. This argument got so intense that Verizon took the Federal Communications Commission to court. And Verizon won. Now this doesn't mean the end of net neutrality as we know it. But now this court case brings up the next question. What power does the government have to regulate the internet? If the internet is this free and open place for people to create and share content, then what power does the government have over it? Unfortunately, our founding fathers couldn't have predicted the invention of the internet, so the Constitution is a bit unclear on the topic. But since its inception, there have been huge debates on how much regulation there should be.
The needs of consumers in competition with wireline internet access providers is limited only by the FCC.
This is where the Federal Communications Commission comes in, or FCC for short. This is an independent agency that regulates interstate and international communications by radio, television, wire, satellite, and cable. CEO Tom Wheeler takes the issue of net neutrality to heart. In February, the FCC will have their 3rd attempt at establishing net neutrality and will circulate a draft bill. Some argue, however, that because certain companies like Netflix take up more bandwidth, it only makes sense to charge them more to use faster lanes to get to their customers. But does this mean cable companies can charge more to use certain websites like Netflix? And speaking of customers, that brings up the final and possibly most crucial issue. In my community specifically, locals pretty much only have one choice when it comes to internet providers: Charter. And what do most people think about being limited to this one service?
Liken it to Charter and their access to the web, and they may block sites like Google or Facebook in their own interest. So if they don't profit from it, they may block it.
Looking at review websites clearly shows that slow internet speeds is making plenty of people furious. Clearly, cable companies are more than happy to decide which websites get to their customers faster and which ones have to wait. And what are small businesses to do? How can they compete when they are being pushed aside by the big businesses to the so-called slower lanes?
Net neutrality is about the fear that broadband providers will enter into business arrangements that disadvantage certain content providers, harm competition, and thereby leave consumers and internet users worse off. For example, a broadband provider might enter into an exclusive contract with an online video site to foreclose a rival video site access to the broadband provider's subscriber.
So the internet is pretty magical, but at the same time it's also unpredictable. And who knows, the internet is constantly evolving, and net neutrality might let it grow into something even more exciting. We'll just have to wait and see.